Come on.
In the quiet moments before the world wakes up,
I don't
there's a
think it played.
place where
That's
pain
okay.
meets peace, where every breath feels like a prayer and grief stands still. We carry the weight of what was and search for meaning in the smallest things. And sometimes all it takes is one moment to remind us we're still here, still healing.
Stream. So if you have any questions for either myself or my guest, put them in the comment section. We'll be sure to answer them as we go. Now, one other thing, this is for educational purposes only. And without further ado, guys, OGD is joining me today, and she's actually another co-author on the story as well. So I'm gonna let her introduce herself. Going to get into a conversation, man. And guys, you guys about to have a blast, man. There's a reason why I call her OGD too. So you know what I'm saying? So pay attention to that. OGD, how you doing, girl?
Hey, 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 my brother, my friend. What's happening? My co-author on Love Language of Grief, Volume 2. My name is author Danny, and you spell that D-A-N-I. I am a
All
author.
right, are you in?
I am called by a power much greater than me and you to, you know,
Yes.
do a thing here on earth on this side of eternity. So, by way of written word, I've been doing that for quite some time. So thank you for having me.
Yeah. Of course, and thank you for being on the show. You know, like I said, since the last time that we talked, I was really excited because there's a lot of things that you have going, the impact that you have, having the story, and being able to sit in front of us today with this courage, with this inspiration, with this just drive to help other people, get out of their way, and what I'm saying, also being able to guide them along the way as well, right? So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about your journey of how you became the person that you are today.
Well, I was born and raised in Harlem, New York, to a young set of parents. I was doomed from the womb. Uh, I'll get into that in one of my other books, or you have to buy the book,
Understood.
actually. I don't want to give you too much of that, but let's just say my parents were very young, and I was born a bastard child. And for those of you that don't know what a bastard child is, a bastard child was any child that was born out of wedlock. If you were a woman who had a child back in the day and you weren't married, there was no father around, that child automatically became a bastard child. Hence, here I am.
Mhm.
Um, but I ran from all kinds of dysfunction from very early on and grew up very, very fast. Life started
Mhm.
lifing, without my permission
Mhm.
very early on. So I identify a lot to that acronym that they say, life be life, and as the young people say nowadays,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
life
yeah.
do be life, and it's been life
Oh
for
yeah.
me for a long time. So so that's kind of like where it all started. I took to the pen and paper very early on. That and music was my
Mhm.
escape from what I was going through in the household that I was growing up in, you know. And my parents, both of my parents,
Mhm.
were musically inclined. So all kinds of music was always playing in the house, but it was always some other crap that was going on in the house too. And I went to private
Mhm.
school as a kid, so I learned how to write very early on, and grammar and usage and outer appearance was very important to my grandparents and my mom. So, back in the day, it was you better not let nobody know what's going on in my house. I pay the bills here, so the child is to be seen and not heard. All of that stuff that kept us bound in our spirit.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't have a voice until I did, and when I did, and I learned that it was my voice and I could use it, all holy hell broke loose. So here I am today.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah.
I was going to compliment you on how you articulate, and ask you for the background. So thank you for the background and everything. I
Mhm.
love it. I love it because it shows. from where we grew up at, especially where you grew up at, right? There was a lot of things going on in the neighborhood that actually influenced the way that we see things and speak, right? And just like yourself, my mother told me at a very early age, she goes, "Look, you don't have to play into the stereotype of people thinking that you're ignorant. If you're smart, show people that you're smart, but be careful who you're smart around."
Hmm.
So my mother used to give me things, say things like that when I was a kid, like be careful who you're smart around, because a lot of people will judge you because of the way that you are, the way that you think, the way that you speak. So sometimes it's okay just to shut up when you're in other rooms, right? You know what I'm saying? You can learn a lot from just being quiet and listening to people, right? You understand their mentality, you understand their perception of life, you understand their character, all of these different things, which allows you, the individual, to make a choice whether or not if this is someone that you want around you, right? And so
Right.
that's some of the lessons that I learned coming up, that kept me safe, so to speak, as a lot of people like to say now, it kept me safe. Um, well, let me redirect that. It kept me from making decisions that would have cost me the rest of my life.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, and now doing the work that we do, being in the field that we're in, what are some of the things that has changed since you did?
Well, for me, some of the things that I've seen change, some for the better, some for the worse, is kids have a lot more autonomy, should I say, in their life, more so than when we did when we grew up.
Hmm.
And what I mean by autonomy
Yeah.
is they get to make decisions, they get to think for themselves. You know, it's fortunate but unfortunate that DIFUS and Bureau of Child Welfare and all of those. Every state has a different name for it, but the organizations that are allegedly supposed to be over the children and the children's rights in America have taken away
Hmm.
the power from the parent. And in some places,
Hmm.
that's a blessing, but in a lot of places, that's a curse because now you have all of these. I don't know if they're the Gen Zers, or I don't get into all the difference, but I know that the generation right under me, I can't. I'm in menopause,
Yeah.
child. I'll be grateful if I could remember what color drawers I got on. No, okay, I'll be here till Friday. No, but it's unfortunate in a way because now that the power, they have no fear of their parents. And a lot
Yes.
of
Yes.
kids are smart. They have no fear of their parents and they use that to their advantage. And,
Hmm.
unfortunately, the other side to that coin is parents are now trying to be their kid's friend instead of being their parent
Yeah.
because of whatever guilt or whatever shame or whatever stuff that they have going on or they had going on. They feel like, oh, okay, I'm
Hmm.
never going to do that to my kid. So my kid is my friend. No, your kid is your kid. And
Yeah.
by you
Yeah.
allowing that kid to think that they're your friend, you don't see where that's going to cause you any problems and that child.
Hmm.
But I let people
You
be
know.
where they at. I didn't have kids of my own, but I raised several children, and that's in my story also later
Mhm.
on down the line. And even with them, they're all grown now. They're in their 40s and 30s, and I don't tell them how to raise their kids. But just don't call me and be all up in my pocket. And then when things go wrong, now you want that's your kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you said that because it was something that I did with my son, right?
Hmm.
And I was, for the most part, I was a single father. And I used to tell my son all the time when he was a kid, I can't tell you what to think. I can only guide you with suggestions that I can give you. It's up to you to use those suggestions the way that you seem fit. So as an early age, I encouraged him to think outside the box, to think for himself,
Okay.
to understand the difference between right and wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. If he got in trouble, I tax his little butt. You know what I'm saying? Then, oh, there's a difference between abusing a kid and disciplining them, right?
That
You
part.
know, so the way that I would do it, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes if I had to pop his butt or something like that, I would let him know, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, what you did was wrong, and there's consequences to your actions. I'd rather be the one who give you those consequences, and you know what I'm saying, than let you go out into the world and let life give you consequences. Life going to give you its consequences on its own. But
That
this is
part.
something that I can help you along.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
he understood that, hey, I'm not your friend. I'm your dad. I don't care if you like me. I don't care. Your emotions don't have nothing to do with me raising you to be a good man. Has nothing to do with that. You know, it's about having structure. I can't tell you how to live your life. I can only give you the tools so you don't have to survive it the way that I did.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
you know, and I was blessed through the people who taught me those things, though. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Um, because I don't think a lot of people do get that sort of structure nowadays. Because we see it in the actions. And kids having no fear often it can be a benefit, I believe, because they go out into the world and they're courageous enough to go, you know what I'm saying, to think outside the box and think about the things that, you know what I'm saying, most people don't think about. So I do think that there could be a benefit in that way.
Mhm.
Everything, then that's a
Yeah, but
different
not
story.
fearing your parent,
I
there's
don't
no
agree with
benefit
that.
there. Because if I don't fear you, I'm not gonna respect you either.
Right,
And unfortunately, that's
right.
more of what we
I'm
see
glad that I'm glad you
nowadays.
put that in there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that you put that in there because that's I didn't mean to leave that out, but yeah, I'm glad that you put that in there. You got to have, you have to have respect for your parents because you
It's
don't have
called a
respect for me.
healthy
You're
fear.
not
It's
going to
not
have respect.
like, oh, I'm worried that you're
Right,
gonna kill me, but it's a healthy fear that I instilled. Um, and it was a healthy fear that it was instilled in me until I just didn't care anymore. And that was not my fault either. It's
right.
because of childhood trauma that I didn't care anymore. But
Yeah.
that's another story for another day. So anyway,
Well, let me ask you a question. Not about your childhood trauma, but how did you deal and things like
how did
that?
I?
Because a lot of people don't understand it. Uh, yeah, how did you overcome that? How did you begin to address those things and work on
It took
this
me a
so I can
very
become a
long,
better person?
it took me a very long, arduous, painful amount of years. Um, Sometimes to this day, I grieve the fact that I never had a healthy relationship with my mom and my dad. Um, I'm grateful that the time came where it was either work on me and get through it and heal from it, or you're
Mhm.
gonna go crazy right here in your own shell. I did drugs for many years because I didn't know how to maneuver my way around the ups, downs, ins, outs, painful situations, the times that I couldn't talk to my parents when I wanted to. Um, then the in and out of the penile system and all of that good stuff that ended up coming down the pike. Um, I I was a grown woman before I started dealing with some of those issues. But the gratitude came because my
Right.
mom allowed me to come home. Um, and after becoming a devout drug addict out there, living my life as a drug addict, as a derelict, as a bum on the street, and by God's grace, my mother allowed me to come home. Providing that I got myself together, and she got to see me clean.
Mhm.
And only at that point did I even think about trying to because as long as I had my drugs, I didn't have to think about those things. I didn't have to think about the
Right,
pain, I
right.
didn't have to think about the shame, I didn't have to think about her, I didn't have to think about my pop, I didn't have none of that, because I had my drugs and I had the street life. But when God saw fit for that to be taken away, He gave me the strength to stay clean so I could grow and so I could heal. But I was well into my 20s. I was almost 25 years old when that started. So, yeah.
Mm.
And then at
Oh man.
27, my mother
I want
died.
to say shout out to oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow, I'll talk to you about that. Big shout out to Overdose Music, Quaalude, the Connect Work in the house. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, my man Quaalude is going to be going on tour with Twister in May. So,
Okay.
we already got the link set up for people to go check him out. 10 City Tour, a lot of other artists out there. That man's out there doing his thing. You know what I'm saying?
All
And
right.
been watching him, been the privilege to call him a friend and everything. So, yes, a lot of great things coming on in the world, man. So, big shout out Overdose Music. Um, Now, when you started writing, what was your decision to do that? Because you said that's your release, that's your gift, right?
Hmm.
To be able to
Hmm.
put words to paper and help
Hmm.
people understand your story from a different perspective. So when did you discover that?
I discovered that probably around the fourth or fifth grade. I discovered that. So that's
Mhm,
around, I guess, 8, 9 years old, 9, 10 years old. I discovered that I could go to different places if I wrote about, you know, being in my head. Fantasy was my first drug. It would take me away from who I was and who I was not. It would take me away from what might have happened last night in my house. It would take me away from there was a very devout um, sibling rivalry between my brother and myself. I actually physically heard my mother say that she didn't want any girls. She only wanted boys. I got verbally abused from the age of when I know what I was hearing, like say 3, 4. My mother had a potty mouth and she didn't care.
mhm.
And she would call me some type of thing, ooh, everything but a child of God. And because I looked and I acted just like my dad, who I didn't pick. I'm sorry, I wasn't there when he was a gleam in your eye, but I caught all holy hell because of that.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, but
Yeah.
you know, um,
Now, now, I was going to ask, because there's a lot of people that's going through those things, right? Like that, and um, I've had my fair share, so
mhm,
I can only speak from my perspective when I say this. Having had to go through those experiences, don't get me wrong, I will never change it for the world because it helped shape who I am. If I would have understood then that it was going to shape who I am, maybe I wouldn't have got so been so emotional, in my reactions through it, right? And what I mean emotional, I guess I consider violent.
yeah, I get
My
it.
anger was I was really quick. I was really quick to react. It took me a long time to come to terms with that side of me and learning how to not suppress it, but learning how to use it in a way to where it didn't have dominance over my mentality, right? So it took me a long time to learn about, hey, I can put this over here. I don't have to be this person all the time. I don't have to. I'm not in survival mode anymore. I have an opportunity to rebuild a life, but it was different for me because I didn't know nothing about that life. I've always been the type of dude that hustled or grind. You know what I'm saying? I either had a job or something like that. So it took me a long time to really see the other side, and I think throughout my journeys, I was able to connect with different people that was living that life, and it gave me a different perspective of it and things like that. But it was a lot of work, a lot of forgiving myself for my own actions, um, asking for forgiveness for those said actions, but also coming to terms with that it was part of the process,
Right.
right? Coming to terms with it. If you had any suggestions for anyone else out there that may be experiencing some of the things that you have experienced, what would you give them?
Well, healing works different for everybody. There's a difference in
Mhm,
how I heal and how I relate, how I deal with emotions, right? Then how you deal with
mhm,
emotions and relate to, healing. Only one knows what their actual emotional baggage is. I'm going to say baggage because that's what it is. Because when we don't deal with it, we carry it for the rest of our life. And everybody that comes in contact
Yes,
with
we
us
do.
is suspect to be abused because we were abused, or to be used, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, or to get all of those bags of trauma. It's called trauma bonding, and
Mhm.
oh, I love you, but you beat on me, or I love you, but you steal from me, or I love you, but you see, I'm trying to stay clean, but you get high around me. That's what, let me keep it on the
Yeah,
eye.
yeah.
That's what I ended up doing most of my life until I made the decision that I wanted to stop hurting. And what I would tell someone else is make a decision. That's first and foremost. And be
Mhm.
kind to yourself and show yourself some grace when you fall short, because you're going to fall short. If you used to getting high 24/7, 365, the first couple of times you might not stay clean. If you're used to putting your hands on people, or if you're used to getting, attracting people who put their
Mhm.
hands on you, the first couple of times that you make a decision, you might still flub up, right? But show yourself some grace and hold on. If you get through today, tomorrow's a different day. And it's
Mhm.
this saying that, that I use. Yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery. But don't piss on the gift called the present, which is today. I have today to
Mhm.
try to get it right. And if God allows me to live for tomorrow, which is a mystery, I can try it all over again. But I have to show myself grace through today.
I like that. I like that.
Mhm.
When you were saying that, it reminded me of listening to like people like Dr. Miles Monroe, Les Brown, your Jim
Mhm.
Rohns, and things like that. So thank you for that. That's I love how you did that. Let me ask a question. Have you ever trauma bonded with anyone, or have you ever had someone trauma bond with you and you not recognize it until it was too late?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I got married when I was 21 and my husband was 59. And I just thought he cared about me and I cared about him. But later on down the line, I realized that there was some trauma bonding going on. And there was also codependency. And we were
Mhm.
codependent towards each other until we just couldn't stand each other anymore. Then it became violence. Then it became, so much other stuff. Um, and within 2 years, that relationship was over. Um, as a matter of fact,
Mhm.
I lived the rest of my life until I recently got married, 10 years ago, that I didn't even know whether I was divorced or married because it was an uncontested divorce. I ran away
Mm.
from
Okay.
my marriage. And the next thing you know, I was out there. I was out there living the life. But yeah, we definitely trauma bonded, and I didn't know what it was until way after the fact because I had never heard that. See, these are things that just came about because black folks, come on, let's
Right.
let's
Right.
keep it real clear, real 100, all right? Black folks didn't do therapy back
Hmm.
in the day. If you were
Oh
lucky
yeah.
enough
No.
to come from a church household, they laid hands on you in the church and they prayed all over you and laid you out, and the demons be gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most
And then
black
I always
holes,
work. Those demons just came back. Yeah.
there you go. As soon as
Those
you left
demons
out
just
the
came
church
back when I
door,
went
you know what?
home. Yeah. That demon came back was like, oh, just so you know, I was just over there taking a break. I just waited for
That's
you, but
it.
here I am.
I drank some of that holy water. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, like
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
black folks. First of all, we worked too hard for our money. We didn't believe in therapy. It wasn't something that was. I don't care how ritzy titsy you were. Um, Most black households wasn't paying for you to go see no therapist. Okay? Get your
No.
shit together.
No.
That's all
Not at
that was.
all.
Excuse me. I don't know if I could cuss or not, but that's how. Look,
Oh,
you
no.
better
No. You're
get it
good. You're good.
together.
You're good.
You better get it together, or else I'm gonna bust you upside your head. That was the therapy that went on in my house.
Mm. Ooh,
And so
girl, that
until
you took me back
much
to
later
home.
on, years later, I didn't even know what trauma bonding was. And then I had to look back over
Hmm.
my life and at certain relationships, one being my marriage. Um, and I was like, holy cow, wow, that's what that was. We bonded over trauma. I looked to him to
Mm.
save me from myself. And that's a form of trauma bonding, and he had had a rough
Yeah.
relationship. His first marriage was really jacked up, and you know, he bonded with me over some of his hurt and his pain and his trauma. And here we are. How the hell we gonna be healthy for each other when we weren't being healthy for ourselves? And of course, the drugs were involved in that. And you know, hey,
Yeah. You know, um, and I don't know if it's just me, but I didn't recognize trauma bonding. And doing a reflection on my life, there was a lot of people that trauma bonded with me over time. All I remember through these people, two things. One, whenever they left from around me, I was always drained. Like I had no energy. Like I always felt like I need to go to sleep for a week or so. Right. Two, everyone who has trauma bonded with me has, and it's just gotten to a point now to after in a very hectic relationship with a narcissist, I recognize a lot of red flags that I didn't recognize before.
mm,
And so and I was going, wow, man, that right there, I'm going to have to do something about this. Because if not, like this is not what I want. This is not the lifestyle that I want to live. Like this is crazy. So I had to practice a lot of discernment and a lot of, as they say, making better decisions. Right? You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? I had to make better decisions when it came down to that. But for myself, like you said, and like you said, you have to work on yourself before you can allow someone else to come in, or else you're doomed to repeat the pattern over and over and over again, which is
facts,
the true definition of insanity, right? You know what I'm saying?
facts,
And but you want different results. It
yeah,
doesn't work that way, But again, that's just my own opinion about that. I associate the narcissism with the trauma bonding because it's like flies to elephant dung. You know what I'm saying? They
mhm,
coming to get it, right?
mhm.
But I don't know. Has that always been your experience, especially looking at other people? Do you ever see other people making those same mistakes?
Well, see, first of all, I have to say that I never saw a healthy relationship. Until I was good and grown, I never
Mm,
saw a healthy
mm,
relationship. My grandmother was a mulatto
indeed.
whose father married her off to the darkest black man that he
Mhm,
could find so she could have an easier way in life because she was high yellow. So when he brought her from the South, he thought he was doing helpful, but he was a womanizer as well as a gambler, her father.
mhm,
So when I was a kid, I lived with my mother in my grandparents' house. And by the way, my grandfather was a drunk. He was just a functional drunk. So that wasn't a healthy relationship,
mm.
right? Then my
No,
mother
no.
had myself and my brother by two different men. She had my brother when she was 18. She had me when she was 21 by two different men, dropped out of high school. Um, and of course, that wasn't a healthy relationship. One of them happened to be married. My dad was married. So, and had children by his wife. So I never knew what a healthy relationship looked like
Wow.
until I figured it out later on. And I'm like, oh. And then I asked questions to people who had been together forever and, you know, um, took the route to when things started getting rough, go to therapy and or, make provisions to at least do singular help in
Mhm.
making it work. But I never saw that in my household. So I didn't even know what a healthy relationship could be or look like. That's not how I was
Wow,
raised.
every time we talk, I told you since the first time that we talked, I was like, oh, I'm around OGD, right? And the more you making that statement right there is it's just validation of why I call you that OGD,
Mhm.
because I can relate to that in so many different ways. My approach was just a little bit different, right? Um, I never knew what a healthy relationship was. Although I was surrounded by people who were married, and maybe they was having a healthy relationship from their point of view. But from on the outside looking in, I was like, holy crap, man! Like how? Okay, if this works for you, okay, that's good. To be honest with you, I did not know what a healthy relationship was until I turned to the Creator.
Mhm.
And I asked for forgiveness. I asked for guidance. I asked for wisdom. I asked for strength. I asked for a different change of view on life. I asked to be a better man. I asked to be a good father because I didn't know what that was like neither. I didn't know any of these things, right? But I modeled my guidance to what I perceived to be a good person, a good father, and a good man to have a healthy relationship from what I knew about the creator, and I
Right.
pursued it. I intentionally pursued conversations with the creator. I intentionally pursued connection with the creator, understanding, right? And and that led to some really good friendships, right? And I
Right.
can't say that about everyone, right? I don't call everybody a friend,
Mhm. Mhm.
because I'm very selective about that too. I'm very, very selective about that because there are some people I
Mhm.
go, if you did that to him, what makes you think that I'm gonna give you the opportunity to do it to me,
Right.
right? So I'm very selective. I practice a lot of discernment on that. But that was the first time I ever had a healthy relationship, and it was something that was always missing. I felt that it was missing, and when I began to have that, it you know it gave me a path to follow, right? It gave me curiosity to want more, right? It gave me the courage to um, to not be afraid to talk to the Creator, like my Father or like the
Mhm.
Creator. And I realized there's no difference in between me talking to OGD or Quaalude or anyone else out there than me talking to the creator. The creator wants us to have communication with him, and
Mhm.
so I pursue it. I pursue it every day, meditation, through yoga, through quiet times, just through questions and things like
Right.
that. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Not
Right.
understanding what a healthy relationship is, but also having the courage to figure it out because you realize that something wasn't right. You know,
Right.
um, I have a quote. I told people, I said, sometimes you're the toxic one, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
wasn't saying it to be very specific to anyone. I was saying it about myself. I said sometimes when you realize that you're the toxic one, you would then take the initiative to do better,
Right.
right?
Okay.
Because you
Because
can't
see,
blame
what?
everybody. You can't blame
Right.
everybody for failed
Right.
relationships.
Right. Well, see, what happens is when we point that finger at that toxic one, we forget about the three
Got the
fingers
four
that
one.
point back at us.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
know I'm toxic. I know, well, no, let me rephrase that. I know at one time I was a toxic person. I couldn't keep friendships. I couldn't keep relationships. I didn't care very much about how you felt. It wasn't my concern because I never had to care about how you felt. I was very selfish and self-centered at one time in my life, possibly borderline
Mm-hmm.
narcissistic. Um, and until I got a conscious contact with my higher power, I couldn't even see myself. So once I started working on me, I could see me coming. You know what I'm saying? Like in another person. Like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
oh boy, nope. don't want to deal with that, because I see me. I see the old me in that person. Oh, no, no, no. Don't
Yeah,
step. Please don't come this
yeah.
way. But you have to see you, love you, learn you. Who are you before you can give a healthy you to someone else? Now, don't get me wrong. Some people take longer than others to become healthy too, especially when you've been unhealthy all your life. Does that
That's
mean you should sit in a corner and
hmm
not share, not get intimate, not be with anyone? That's not what I'm saying. If you like it, I love it. Do what you do. You know what I'm saying? I just know that I can't give
hmm
you a
Yeah.
healthy me if I'm not healthy. Now, would it be nice to have someone to help you unpack your bags? At least pack 2 or 3 of them by yourself. Unpack 2 or 3 of them by yourself. And then maybe God will present to you that person who's supposed to help you pack the other 2 or 3 of them. Because you might have some
hmm
toiletries in that
Man,
bag
that's
that you
I
don't
like
want him
that.
or her to see. Or you might have some things in there, some secret things in there that you don't want him or her to see. So unpack them bags on your own.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Well,
know?
you know what? I'm a firm believer in this, right? Before you try to step into somebody's closets and and judge them for the skeletons that they have, take a closer look at your own, right? You know what I'm
Hello.
saying? Go in your own closet and pull out the skeletons, and then
Hello.
you figure it out, right? Because then you approach the next person without judgment, right? You know, so
Yeah.
who am I to judge the next person? When the skeletons in my closet, I filled up three walk-in closets. What you talking about?
Baby,
I filled up
you
three
are
of them
talking right.
from top to
You
bottom with my
talking right.
skeletons. You know what I'm saying?
And
I'm not.
Imma take it
I'm
Imma
not
piggyback
perfect.
on you. Imma piggyback on you and say this. Just like when you're in the
Mhm.
plane and the pilot comes across and says, "If for whatever reason we experience turbulence, put your own mask on before you go to the left or the right to help someone else with their mask." What does that mean? "Oh, my child is sitting next to me. Imma
Mhm.
put my child's mask on first." Not if you can't breathe. So I suggest you start working on you, and then you can on help work on them, whoever it might be.
Mhm.
If I'm not giving you a healthy me, how the hell can I expect you to be
Yeah,
healthy?
I like that. Yeah, I think this is right now today us having these conversations and the many people that we know across the world that do this life changing work. We see everything changing. Now, our
Mhm.
biggest challenge right now is the way that the world that's going in. So, my question would be, with everything that's going on around the world, how do you stay focused on the mission and your purpose that you've been called to do?
Well, first and foremost, I've been in a worse place than I am today. I've seen several wars in my lifetime.
Hmm.
I've seen abuse in my lifetime. I've been an abuser in my lifetime, and I've gone through a lot of sugar honey iced tea. So, the one thing I do know about the ebb and flow of life is its hills and valleys. You're not
Hmm.
always going to be down, but the question is when you going to get up. I can't preach to you every day on how to stay positive if
Mm.
I'm a deadbeat downer. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I'm not. By no means, I got 6 eyes. Believe me, it's 2 pairs in here
Yeah,
and two
yeah.
two on my face. So I see what's going on around us. Look at who runs the daggone country. I have never seen a more arrogant,
Mhm.
obnoxious piece of person in my life. Now, yeah, I could sit around and act like put my blinders on and act like I don't see it, right? But
Mhm.
the one thing I can say is,
Yeah.
again, I can't expect the world to be positive if I'm always dishing out negativity. The thing is, the more I work on me, the more I see me,
Yeah.
so the more I can change me. If you want to make the world a better place, how did Michael say it? Take a look at yourself and make the change. I got to start with me. I'm starting
mm,
with the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. And no message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change. I can't look at what everybody
mm.
else is doing because I didn't look at everybody else when I was out there in the world doing what I was doing. I robbed people by myself. I
Yeah.
did stick ups by myself. I did stuff out there
Mm,
by myself because, first of all, if I take you with me, then I either got to kill you or I got to worry about you telling what happened. So I don't want that. But now I
mm.
can flip it around.
There you
The one
go.
thing I won't do is sit
Yeah.
around and talk about you not having on a pair of shoes
Hmm.
when sometimes my sock and my toe is through my toe is through my sock too. Today, the difference is that it's not cool to talk about people. The only time that I should be looking down on
No,
someone is if I'm leaning down to help you up.
that's
It's
it.
not fun,
That is it.
yeah, unless you're a comedian.
No.
Then, you get a heckler and you heckle back. But in my daily
Yeah.
life, I'm not trying to harm you. If I can't help you, I'm not going to harm you. And when people ask me stuff like that, Danny, how do you stay so positive? Because I know that I've seen brighter days and I know they going to come. And I know that joy comes in the morning.
Hmm.
And I know that I used to be
Yeah.
a crackhead. And I know that all of that stuff that I just told you, I know because I was, that ain't me no more. That's how I could stay positive.
Mm, mm. I love that. Let's talk about the love language of grief.
Yes, let's do
You've
that.
done work with Lakeisha. Lakeisha is awesome. She's freaking
I
awesome.
love her. That's my baby
And
girl. That's my
I,
niece. That's my
again, we
niecey
both,
poo.
yeah, that's my girl right there. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
yeah, and she cool. She cool and all get out.
Yes, she
And so
is.
happy to be a part of this book.
Well,
It's been a beautiful journey, and to have, to see these things. What
mhm.
inspired you? Because this is your second book with Lakeisha, right? You know what I'm saying? And you're
Yes,
still
I
rocking
was in
with her.
love language of
And
grief
again, my
1
second book
and
with her
2.
too.
Yes.
Mhm.
Um, Let me
Yeah.
just say this. Uh, One of the things that I realized in putting together my memoir, which is the first book that I wrote, before working with her, was that I truly had grief in a lot of different ways, not just losing my mom and my dad and being the matriarch.
Mhm.
I don't have grandparents. Like, my last eldest auntie died. I think I have one auntie left on my father's side, and that's it. It's me.
Mm.
You know, uh, One of the things that I also realize is that I kind of I revert to Michael Jackson a lot because I have you seen my childhood? You know, um, I realized that I grieved for quite a while, but I wouldn't allow anyone to know that I was grieving the
Mhm.
little girl that I wasn't allowed to become, um, because of what was going on in my
Mm.
life. So when when I was approached by Lakeisha and asked to do a book upon grief, I was like, I don't want to just talk about people dying. I said, well, Danny, you don't you don't necessarily have to grieve people who have passed on. One of the hardest things to grieve is people that are still here amongst the living. Break up with somebody that you thought you loved and
Mhm.
see how hard that grief is.
Mhm.
Lose a job that made you who you were. Oh, yeah, I make six figures and I'm CEO somebody, or I'm ho la la la, and I'm president of blah 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 blah. Lose that. Get fired from it. Walk
Mm.
away from it.
Ooh,
Let the
girl,
business crash and see
girl.
what kind of grief you go through then. Have a fire.
Mhm.
Have a fire and it take away everything that you built in your home. A tornado. And, you talk about a grief that's an empty shell of grief. You have nothing left but the clothes on your back. When I got clean in 1989, and my mother allowed me to come home, I had absolutely nothing but the dirty, nasty, grimy, stinky clothes that I had on my back. And my mother made me take every stitch of whatever I had on and I could peel off my body because that's how dirty it was, and put it in a bag outside her front door before I could walk in her house. I got into a tub that was full of astringents, alcohol, Epsom salt, all kinds of other stuff. And that, at 24 years old, was how my rebirth happened. I had nothing. The next day, she went to a flea market at a church around the corner and got me a pair of used shoes, shirt, bra, and pants. One pair. And was like, now go and find yourself some treatment somewhere, or you're not going to stay here. I had nothing. Nothing. You know, the part of losing my mother and father that I grieve is the relationship that I was never able to build with them. I don't necessarily grieve like, oh my God, they died, they left me, da 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 da. I never had them. So that's what I grieve the most. And that's what I wrote about in the book. Volume 2, I wrote a letter, an open letter to my mom. And in volume 1, there's a secret grief that I wrote about in volume 1 that kind of segues into some other stuff, but I don't want to give it away. It's if I can toot my own horn, it's a brilliant writing chapter. So yeah. But you gotta buy
I
Love
love
Language.
that. How many
Gotta buy Love Language of Grief Volume 1 in order to know what
how
it's
many
about.
times have you been a best-selling author?
Well,
Okay.
Pretty Little
See, I
Bastard
can't wait.
Child.
I'm waiting for mine to come in. I'm buying everything in bulk.
Pretty Little Bastard Child. Last year, I was awarded Black Authors Association best-selling memoir. So, and matter of fact, I'm going to send you the link. I am in the running this year for volume 2, Searching, which is volume 2 of Pretty Little Bastard Child. This is in the running again
That's what I'm
for
talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Black Authors Association for best memoir. So we're working on it. We're working on it, you know. Oh yeah. You know, one day
Now,
the New York
people
Times
find
is going
well,
to call me and say, "Girl, we saw your book, and Lord, wow," you know. But I'm gonna keep writing. You know, I'm now
yeah, that's the
branching off
dream,
and
though.
yeah, yeah. I'm blessed. I'm grateful. You know, I have my
Mhm.
plaque. I have my awards. But I don't write for awards. I write for healing. It's cathartic. I write because I want people who are going through or who are stuck on stupid going through. They stuck and they don't know how to go through. They don't know how to grow through. They don't know even what avenue to take. That's why I write. And somebody said, "Well, Danny, why don't you do fiction?" And I'm like, because my life is a lot more interesting than fiction.
Yeah,
Almost every story
yeah,
that I write will be about something that I've experienced, good or bad, or both, or something that I've lived through, and God has been gracious enough to get me through. You know, because fiction is cool and all of that, but my life has been a movie. And it's going to be a movie. I got my first letter
you
of
know,
intent. So, yeah,
yeah. Oh, you got it?
I did. I
Congratulations.
got, Yeah,
I
I
know
got
you
my
were
first
waiting
letter
on
of
it the last
intent.
time that we were talking. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we will be
Congratulations.
by the end. Yeah,
That's big right
just
there.
now I got to find some people with some money who want to invest. Yeah, but it
They
will.
all around. We just gotta know where to look. They're all
Listen, I'm
around.
not worried. I'm not worried because God is not gonna. He's not gonna lead me through it unless
I
He's
know
gonna
you're
see
not.
me. Lead me to it unless He sees me through it. So He wouldn't put
There
this on
you
my
go.
heart and
There
say,
you go.
"Psych." He ain't that type of God. Nah. So I'm grateful.
There you go. I've been telling people I gotta look at the next person and focus on your path, right? Because if you think that where you at right now is the end, you pretty much don't just putting you through.
Yeah. Either you don't know
So
God or you don't trust God or you
I'm
don't
trying to
trust
rush the
yourself. One or
process and
the other.
follow. Oh, that's funny that you say that, right? Because I was having a conversation with the creator today about that same thing. Being a male grief coach, I interact with a lot of people, right? But I'm not there to sort of advice about how to do what they need to do. The sound conversation that came about and said exactly what you just. This guy either didn't trust God, didn't have faith, or didn't trust himself. And
That part.
he actually answered it for me. I go, what is your biggest struggle right now throughout this process? He says, because I'm in my own way, I have never had anything like this, and I don't trust myself to do the thing.
Wow.
I stopped and said, okay, yeah, that's honesty,
Yeah. And that's all it takes. Like,
That's straight
because
up
see,
honesty. He's like, I don't trust myself to do the right thing.
but see, the beauty is that he was able to share it openly. And once fear is shared, it's just like when pain is shared. Pain shared is pain lessened. Fear shared is fear lessened. Why? Because now someone can talk you through that fear. Someone, the universe, the Eureka's, whatever you believe in hears you. And that's all God wants us to do is to get honest about what it is that we're going through. God wants to hear it. And we have in the fellowship that I was affiliated with, we have the saying that goes, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. It's wrong to not trust yourself. But for years, when we
Yeah,
abused ourselves and used ourselves and everybody around us, we allowed to do the same thing. How do you just all of a sudden trust yourself? You have to have some real real deal Holyfield truth. You have to see some miracles and signs and wonders in order to get to that place where you say, all right, God, all right, I hear you, and I'm going to trust you. The size of a mustard seed, I'm going to trust you. But now, if you let me down, God, you're going to jack me up, you know. But it's the truth. If you don't trust you, you can't move forward. You're stuck on stupid. You don't trust God, you've already lost the fight. God don't even want you to fight. He just
yeah,
wants you to show up to the fight ready and prepared. He's going to fight the battle for you, but you got to show up.
yeah. Your audio is going in and out right now. Like it's our connection is starting
Yours
to break
is
up a
too. I
lot.
don't know
Like
what's
I caught
going
some of
on,
it, but
but
it's kept coming. I
yeah,
don't know what's
both
going
of
on. I
ours
was
are
looking. I was
going
like,
on.
what? Hold on. Okay. Yeah. No. I think that's awesome. I only have a couple more questions for you because I know you're a busy person out there making a difference in your community. You got something big coming up right now too, right? You know what I'm saying, that we talked about before. I don't know if you want to spill the beans on it or just wait and everything,
What's
but
that?
I'm excited because
The
you know what I'm
part
saying,
two of the
you're
documentary?
about to do something else.
Well, yeah, I have two new books coming up. One is about stroke. And the other one is about women and their dogs. So I'm going to be doing two anthologies this year. And within the next 2 months, I'm going to be shooting another documentary about where I was born and raised and getting through the crack epidemic, and the gentrification of a thriving African American community up in Harlem.
Mm,
Yeah, so it's
yeah.
all good.
All right. One more question for you. Well, actually, two more questions for you. How can people find you? One, and two. My last question would be: if you had any advice for anyone out there right now that's pursuing their dreams, what would you do? Would you tell them?
Don't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop.
Mm,
What makes you better than the next guy that's pursuing the same exact dream as you standing next to you? Well, if you don't know what that is, then I suggest you really don't
mhm,
stop because it's something in you that's going to take you further than the next guy. That's number one. Never give up. You're never too old. I didn't write my first book until 53, 50. How old am I? God dang. 50 something. I was 50 something. Or was I 60? Oh my God. I'm in my 60s. So 59, I think I was when I wrote my first memoir. But I know that my story speaks for itself, and that's what keeps me going. Um, so that's the answer. Just
mm,
don't stop. You will never find out if you could have, if it would have, if God had it. If they say it's true and the universe has it, you desire what you deserve and you deserve what you desire. How are you going to find out if you did it or if you could have, if you stop right now? They told me something 30 something
mm.
years ago. They said, don't leave until the miracle happens. And the miracle is you, my friend. Don't leave until you happen. Okay. And you can find me on social media at author speaker 64. Uh, that is author speaker Danny 64. That is YouTube. Author Danny.d3 is Instagram. Um, www.danny, DANI, D.com is my website. And my full government on what's the other one? Facebook is Danielle N. Dubois Matthews. And but if you put in author Danny anywhere on any of the socials, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna come up. If it's not a picture of me or one of my books, you'll see a picture of my dog. So that's how you can find me. And if that don't work, talk to
I
this
appreciate
wonderful
you.
gentleman. Look, talk to this wonderful gentleman of a friend of mine who's stuck with me now, Mr. Lynch, Mr. Tony. If you really want to get to me, he knows how to find me. If you can't find me nowhere
Most
else.
definitely.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm not stuck with you. You stuck with me. Okay, you stuck with me. All right, that's just bottom line. I had to do that. I had to put that out there. Like, oh yeah, you make it seem like that I'm stuck with you. No, you stuck with me. You don't even understand.
Bam.
This is a
That's what
mutual
I'm
friendship
talking
now.
about. That's right. That's right. Bam.
As they
See
say,
how
fair exchange, no
see
robbery.
see how that provocation worked? Bam.
No, I love that. I love that. As we begin to wrap it up, you know what I'm saying? I want to say thank you again. You know what I'm saying, Chef D, OGD. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully we can do this again. Guys, her information is in the chat below, right? And go check out her book too. Go check out all her books, man. She's out here doing some amazing things. She already got a memoir out. She has another one coming out. Check that out. Be on the lookout for that. If you didn't catch this, or maybe you just caught it at the end, it will be up on YouTube and it also will be up on Roku. Yeah, see, there it is. There it is. Uh-huh. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Pretty good. Yeah. Jesus. There it is. There it
Take your
is.
pick. What you want to read about today?
Like I said, man, people out here doing some amazing things, changing people's lives. And
And
to look
oh,
at
my
that,
bad,
it
my
just
bad.
keeps inspiring me to want to do.
Yeah, I
No,
forgot.
no, you're
Women to
good.
Women
Every time,
TV. Women to Women TV. Harlem, The Making of the Monster. That is my documentary. Part one is there now. You can see it
mm,
in its fullest, in its glory. It will be a part two there later on this year. Women to Women TV. Harlem, The Making of the Monster. So thank you, my friend. I appreciate
Mhm.
you.
Well, I hope everybody caught that because on this our signal is starting to break up pretty bad. But I will keep you informed of that as well. And again, Chef D, for joining me today. Forward to doing so
Thank you
much more
so
with you,
much.
getting to know more about what you do, what you're doing, and being able to support that as well. You know how we do it. You know what I'm saying? Community is how we heal, and community is how we grow, right? You know what I'm saying? And we have to build a good community where healing is possible, right? And be supported by for everybody
That's
who's
right.
been tuning in and everything. If you haven't tuned in on the YouTube channel, don't forget to head on over there to the YouTube channel and give me a subscribe and hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time we drop a new episode. And most importantly, as Coach D said, take your time. Take your time. Get the chance to know yourself. Reflect before you bring somebody else in. You know what I'm saying? And pour your wounds all over them. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Heal your wounds before you bring somebody else in. And that goes for everybody out there. And with that being said, you guys, we're going to see you guys in the next one. We love you. You know what I'm saying? And yeah,
Yes.
you guys be safe out there. The warmer days are coming. You know what I'm saying? Be safe out there and don't forget to love yourself as much as you love other people because you're worth it. You know what I'm saying? Peace, and we're out.
Blessings.